With both sales and inventory levels dipping well below historical averages in the month of January, the big question we're hearing from a lot of our clients right now is how much and how quickly are prices declining? And the answer to that is that it really depends on the neighborhood and property type you're looking at. I'm Adina Dragasanu, OAKWYN Realty, here with your February 2023 market update. Let's jump right into the numbers and take a look at exactly what's happening in the market right now. The Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver reports that there were 1,022 home sales in the month of January. This is down 21% relative to December, and it's down 55% relative to January of last year. Relative to the 10-year sales average for the month, this number is about 43% below that average. What's interesting looking at that is that what we're seeing on the ground is that buyers are actually becoming quite active. The number of viewings we're getting and attendees at open houses is almost on par to what we were seeing this time last year. So buyers are out there, but they are reluctant. So while we're seeing, maybe 30, 40 groups come through an open house, which we were seeing last year, and getting, 10 offers last year, we might only be getting one offer, maybe two, maybe three if the property is very well priced. This means that the buyers who are prepared are positioned well to get a great deal on their purchase. Throughout the month of January, we've also seen sellers becoming more active in the marketplace. So the pace of new listings coming onto the market was up 173% relative to December. However, it's still down about 21% relative to January of last year. This puts the total inventory of homes available for sale in our region up to just under 7,500. This is an increase of 1% relative to December, and it's an increase of 32% relative to last year. So while inventory is still limited, buyers do have more selection than they were seeing this time last year. Looking at the ratio between sales and active listings, we see that this ratio is currently at 13.7%. This puts us in balanced market territories, and it's a significant decline relative to what we saw January of last year, where we were at over 40% for this ratio. As you may recall, analysts say that we start seeing downward pressure on prices, or we're in a buyer's market, when this ratio is below 12%. When this ratio is over 20%, we're typically in a seller's market territory and prices are on their way up. Between 12 to 20, we're in balanced market territory and prices typically stabilize. But here's the most important thing to remember. This is the average for the market as a whole. We're actually seeing very big differences across the different property types and neighborhoods. Let me show you a few examples. Looking at this ratio by property type, we see that for detached homes, it's currently at 10%, or in buyer's market territory. For townhomes, it's currently 13.4%, which is balanced market territory. And for apartments, it's currently at 16.7%, again, balanced market territory. Let's start off looking at downtown Vancouver. The sales ratio there is currently 13%. But if we look at the different price points, we see that between $500,000 and $600,000, the ratio is at 45%. Between $600,000 and $700,000, the ratio is at 38%. So both very hot sellers market. And same goes for $900,000 to $1 million. The ratio is currently at 31%. However, if we look at properties priced above $1.25 million, we see that there are 390 active listings currently downtown, and there have only been 15 sales in the month of January. This puts the sales ratio at 3.8%. So this is a very significant buyer's market. If you're looking for deals, this is the market to find it in. Looking at the west side of Vancouver and the detached segment, we see that overall the market is showing signs of being in a buyer's market at a 5% sales to active listings ratio. But if we look at specific price bands, for example, between $3 million to $3.5 million, this ratio is currently at 25%, or a seller's market territory. It's really over $3.5 million where we're seeing a surplus of inventory relative to sales. For example, over $3.5 million on the west side of Vancouver, there are 370 active listings and only 12 sales in the month of January. So again, a 3% sales to active listings ratio. Looking at the east side of Vancouver, we're seeing a similar trend based on prices. Overall, the sales ratio for the detached segment on the east side is currently at 11%. But if we look at this ratio at the price band between $1.25 million to $1.5 million, this ratio is at 58%. So a very hot seller's market. And between $1.5 million to $1.75 million, the ratio is currently at 30%, again, a seller's market. It's really when we get over $2 million on the east side of Vancouver that we really see this ratio drop, with 197 active listings over $2 million and only 6 sales in the month of January. Again, a 3% sales to active listings ratio. So the big message here is that when we're looking at these broad averages, they're not an accurate reflection of what's actually happening in the market, because what's actually happening is dependent on the submarket, the property type, and the price band. And one of the big factors that's driving activity right now, both in the detached segment and also in the attached and townhome segment, is that buyers are very price sensitive. And activity is really dependent on these price bands. The most activity we're seeing is in those entry-level price bands. And the big deals or price discounts that we're seeing tend to be in those higher price bands where we're seeing a lot of inventory that's accumulated and very little activity from buyers. So let's finish off here looking at what's happening with prices. The HPI composite benchmark price for all property types is currently at $1,111,000. This is a decrease of 0.3% relative to December, and it's a decrease of 6.5% relative to January last year. Looking at this by property type, we see that the benchmark price for detached homes is currently at $1,801,000. This represents a decrease of 1.2% relative to December, and it's down 9.1% relative to January of last year. For attached townhome and duplex properties, the HPI benchmark price was $1,020,000. This is an increase of 0.8% relative to December, and it's a decrease of 3% relative to January last year. For condo apartments, the HPI benchmark price is almost $721,000. This represents an increase of 1% relative to December, and it's a decrease of only 1% relative to January of last year. While many buyers still hopefully wait on the sidelines that prices are going to decline further this year, what we're seeing right now is that inventory is still limited, and we're not really seeing many signs of sellers selling in a distress mode or sellers being super motivated to sell. And that's really what's keeping the market in balanced territory right now. That said, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are seeing room for negotiating on properties and some great opportunities out there right now. So my message to our clients right now is to be ready to go, get their financing in check, do their due diligence, and be ready to act on opportunities when they come up. And these are actually the ideal market conditions for our clients who are looking to make the move up the property ladder. If you're thinking of making a move this year, get in touch and we can help you craft a strategy to take advantage of what's going on in the market right now. If you want to stay up to date with what's happening in the market, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube, Adina YVR, and you can follow me on Instagram at adina.ybr. Have a great rest of the month, and I can't wait to see you in March.